Good morning. Good morning, world. It is an absolutely fantastically beautiful day here in Texas. I can't think of many days that I've been in Texas that have been more beautiful. I just came back from walking my dogs, and somehow or other, it happened to be a morning when our former president was not on the news. And each time I find myself wondering how and why here in America, probably designated as one of the most wonderful countries in the world, and it is, but how the things that happen associated with his name were so horrendous. How is he able to get away with it? And then I say, I'm not going to allow myself to be a part of any of this today. But try as I may, I can't get away with it because all of the time I'm wondering, what am I leaving for my children? And when I say my children, I mean the children of the world. And one of my great-grandchildren somehow or other said after one of the speeches or something went wrong, that the answer to the question was we're not talking about don't do it, but don't get caught doing it. How does anybody who is in the 3rd or 4th grade come to that kind of a conclusion that whatever you do, it is all right to do it, even if it's wrong, but don't get caught? And I find myself thinking back to the time when I was a little girl, and even today I still say it to my colleagues or to associates. Not one of the reasons, but the reason I did not lie wasn't because I was what they called me, goody two-shoes. It was because I knew that I would get caught, or I feared that I would get caught. And somehow or other, that was, the whole idea was anathema to me, to even think about being caught. And so why do something that is going to haunt you like that? And plus the thing is, it's not any fun. It really isn't any fun. And the other thing was, the person who defined me most was my mother, my father. And there were 2 or 3 things that we did. And one of the things my mother said, and it wasn't an original thing from her, because I've heard someone else said, and one of my colleagues, with whom I aligned myself for practically everything, was because someplace in her family they had said the same thing, and that was, it'll have to come back to me, but the thing was not to get caught, but the thing was to make yourself a party to something. Make yourself a party to something that is a winner. And back to what my mother said was, we did not have any money, but we were never poor. And today, one of the arguments that I have frequently with my son, who in my estimation is probably, aside from my mother and my father and his wife, my son's wife, one of the nicest, kindest, most giving people in the world, and it doesn't have anything to do with what you have. But like Mama said, we did not have any money, but we were never poor. And I've now begun to look at what rich means to, I guess, a lot of people. It means having stuff, a lot of stuff, but you're not rich. Because how are you rich when you never have enough? You always want more. You don't want your neighbor to be as successful as you are. And where's the fun in that? Do you ever play games? And you look at, I look at right now, all the games that are being played. And you would think that people never, ever allow themselves to think that theirs isn't the only game in the world. There are a lot of games, there are a lot of players, there are a lot of teams, and I don't care how good you are, as good as I think I am with anything I do, there is someone, someplace, at some time, who may be able to do it better than I. And you notice I don't say who will do it better than I. I said who maybe will do it better than I. Because everybody who is truly engaged in the game, the whole aim of playing the game is to win. Everybody wants to win. And you can't win them all. But you can go out there and play like everything that you have depends on it, and give it your entire heart. Now, when you're doing this, it's not about having stuff. It's like if you watch little kids and watch them interact with other kids. A lot of little kids are, when their friend falls, or when somebody on their team falls, or somebody who is another kid falls, what do? You race to pick them up. Then you keep on playing. And that's what it's all about. It's not all about winning. It's how you play the game. You never cheat. You never lie. You never steal, because that does not lead to winning. And if one of the people on the opposite team happens to run into a snag, help them. Because it only helps you to play better if you're playing with someone who is as good as, if not better, than you. Now that takes us back to the beginning. Don't have any stuff. But what I've got, once I get to a certain point, I don't need to keep putting stuff in my plate. Take a little bit and share it with another person. share it with your neighbor. If your neighbor is having a problem, as they used to say in the hood, yo, dog, can I help you? Maybe you didn't go to a school where they said that, but someplace along the way, you're going to come into that kind of a situation. And we get back to what rich is all about. We did not have any money, but we were never poor, because I have never been hungry in my entire life. I don't know if I've needed anything. And when I sit down and think about what I want right now, many times I'm thinking about all of the ads that are on television. Can you believe that people are starting to advertise for Christmas already? And it's not even Thanksgiving. What is that all about? And I remember always that Mama used to say, it's not your birthday. Christmas is not my birthday. It's not called Lorimus or Livingstonmas. It's Christ is the reason for the season. And what can we do to share whatever it is we have so that some of those other people will have a nice Christmas? And I remember all the time when it was Christmas, we got you may not remember, but I am the 14th of 15 children. So when they started, it takes the village to raise a child, we were the village. And as the 14th, I knew that I was lucky to be here, because there was just one more after me, and I could not have made it to the end of the line, maybe. So I wouldn't have been one of them. But all of my brothers and sisters, and at Christmas time, we got one thing for Christmas. And it seemed to me that we, again, I had to look back and think, and I think of it all the time. We did not have any money, but we were never, ever poor. I never went to bed hungry. I never went to bed cold. And I always had somebody to say, it's gonna be all right. And the one thing that we were taught to do was you wear clean underwear. And I think, now I don't know whether that is just part of the Blackness, because all of the kids that ever knew, the rule was you wear clean underwear. And you keep what you have clean and orderly. When I look at today, the things in which you store your clothes, you've got so much storage space. Every time you look at the news, I look at, it has now been maybe 15, 20 years that I did a paper in one of my classes on what having was all about. And I realized at that time when there was a young guy in my class, and he said to me one day, "You have no idea what it means to need." And I was really quite surprised that he would say that. He didn't know me, first of all. But his reason for saying that was because you always have everything. And I said, why are you saying that? He says, because you always have a pen, you always have paper, you always have everything. And I said, in my trying to be nice way of saying things, and sometimes as I look back on it, I was not very nice, because I painted whatever I did with, yes, I do have it. Yes, I did do it. Yes, this is the reason why. But it was because I didn't know that there was any other way to do it. And by the time I found out that there was another way to do it, the way that I was doing it was working out too well at the time. And plus, having everything all the time when I got to class, it's called being prepared. And that's when I look at television now and look at all of the ads, very few of the ads address selling to what you need. It addresses having what they want you to have, meaning what they want to sell you. And they want you to have more stuff under your bed, more stuff in your garage. You, of course, will need a larger garage. You need more stuff. You don't. I never go to bed hungry. I never have ever gone to bed cold. And once I found out that I wasn't as destructive as my brother said I was able to find out that whatever you do is based on fulfilling your needs. And fulfilling your needs means being prepared. Being prepared, set by the person or persons or the organization that sets up the program that pays you to do whatever you're supposed to do. When I look back on going to school, the whole way it was done was based on what was needed. And I looked at the things that people indicated, not now, because now it is designated by the person who's in charge, the person who has society convinced that this is what you need. Why does a family of 4 or 3 need 5 or 6 cars? Why do you need it? Why does this house with this many or this few people in it What do they need 6 or 7 bedrooms? 5 bedrooms. As the 14th of 15 kids, never went to bed hungry, never went to bed cold, was always clean because I wore uniforms. Uni, U-N-I, one form. And where we went, our uniforms, it didn't mean a white something cool. It meant a white uniform that was made identical to everything else, so that there was never any reason to be upset because somebody else was dressed better than you. All you had to do was be clean and have on this uniform that was cut from the same pattern. And I was writing a paper one day. I thought, it's amazing. Who was it that said the pen is mightier than the sword? I got back and I started thinking about that as I was older. And I found out that an awful lot of my writings, it has to do with commission, omission. What you put in, what you leave out. You can leave out a lot of stuff. You can put in a lot of stuff, but you don't need to. And I found out early on, as you sit down and do whatever it is, and I take a sheet of paper, fold it, and on one side I wrote what I needed and what I wanted. And I found that on the need side, very rarely did I need it. First of all, what you needed, like this morning, what did I need when I looked out the window this morning? I needed some sunshine. Well, it was a nice, beautiful day. I needed some clean air to breathe. Happened to be, according to whatever they were saying on the news that day, it wasn't a bad day in terms of that. And it looked like in my area of town, there were no warnings about clean water or anything to do with boiling your water or putting something in whatever. And I thought, well, gee whiz. As I look out the window, I don't have anything to do except go outside and breathe. And because I didn't go to bed hungry, that meant that there was something in my refrigerator from last night, if I wanted it. And then I started to think, you know what? You know how many people actually say, we don't have anything for breakfast? You ever say that? Well, we don't have anything that I would like to have for breakfast. But if I open that refrigerator, there's going to be something in there that I don't even have to be creative in order to make myself breakfast. All I gotta do is put some bread in the toaster, put a little butter on something, and throw it in the oven, or just grab a slice of bread and be happy with it. But no, I want some, whatever the special sausage of the time is, or I want some special type of pastry, or I want what I need. Has nothing to do with what I want. And again, you realize that as we're going through this life, all of the things that somehow or other, at some point in time, it's anathema to all of the things that Madison Avenue tells us. And I shouldn't say Madison Avenue, but that's where all of the news are created. And it's there. Why is it there? It's because we need somebody to do that. This is what a capitalist society does. It creates needs that really aren't needs, but they are just dressed up wants. Something that we want has nothing to do with our needs. And again, it is now maybe it's probably well afternoon. The sun is high in the sky. The weather is absolutely perfect. I've been out with my animals and taken them for walks, and my what we call Doggy Pie got tired, so picked her up, put her in my lap, and instead of being just a cool little dog, she had to stand up and see what was going on. And you find out that even the animals develop wants. Can you believe that? And now, I don't believe that they pay any attention to television. I don't think so, anyhow. But believe it or not, I have a bag that I can rattle, and I'll call one of them, and no response. But if I shake this bag, there are some dog treats in the bag. And both of the dogs are right there at my heel when I rattle this bag. And it means that there is a good girl treat that's about ready to come. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? But it's true. And and now to the very, 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 very best part of this. In less than a month, I will celebrate my 89th birthday. And I have the most wonderful family. My granddaughters, my son and his wife, and their dogs. Yes, their dogs. Their dogs take care of me. And my daughter-in-law, I don't have any daughters, I have daughters, but my daughter-in-law, who has been my daughter-in-law long enough now that I can say she's my daughter, she is the kindest person anybody ever wants to meet. She is so much like my mother. She never makes a fuss about anything. She just does it. And while others, like maybe me even, maybe I'll be grousing and complaining or something, and before you know it, Mimi has done it, put it out of the way, and never ever knew it had to be done because she just does it. That's the way you do things. That's the way you take care of each other. And I wake up every morning. never having to do anything because all of my needs are met. And they're met by somebody who cares about me. There's somebody who actually listens to my ramblings when I go on about it sometimes. There is someone who actually listens. And as I talked about listening, I remember very recently one of my great-grandchildren came home from school, and I don't know what we were talking about, but I said to her, "Do you hear me? Did you hear what I said?" And just no. She said, "Gigi, I heard you, but I am not listening." And apparently, someplace in time, that particular week in the classroom, the teacher must have been talking about listening. And there is a big difference between hearing and paying attention. It's that same difference that exists between wanting and needing. And therein lies another day. Please have a good day. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. This is Gigi. Good afternoon.